Welcome to tonight's the whole Zodiac yoga practice. So after the last 6 months of dividing each of the Zodiac signs and its correlative body parts into individual practices today, the intention is to have more of a complete practice. And there's, in deciding how to create this for you, I had so much trouble because there's so many different ways you can teach one pose 12 different ways and basically attune to each of the 12 signs in the different parts of the body. But my hope is that this will be fun. This may be a little bit energetic and challenging. That doesn't mean that you can't rest and just ignore me and listen and do your own thing, as always. And I wanted to start with a very quick refresher of the locations of the different Zodiac body part correlations, because some of you may just be tuning into this. What's this whole astrology connected to the body thing? So for those of you with birthdays in the month of like late March and April, you guys are Aries sun. So Aries starts at the head. We say the head of the ram. Yeah, you can do a little like, woo, if that's you. And then you move down to the neck of the bull, Taurus, the beauty lover and sensual. So we'll do something with the mouth related to that as well. And then comes Gemini, the hands of the twins. So shoulders, arms, and hands of Gemini, and then the chest of the crab. It includes the stomach, not the belly area, but the stomach as an organ. So the chest and the stomach. And then the heart of a lion, Leo, which is the back of the heart and the spine. And then we move down to the belly of the Virgin. So this is the abdomen area, and the small intestine is the organ that correlates. And then we have Libra, which is the scales, right? So the back of the scales. Then we get to Scorpio, which is the sexy organs. So the pelvis and all the sexual reproductive organs. And then Sagittarius is the hips and thighs, right? So the hips and the thigh muscles, excuse me. Capricorn rules the knees. Aquarius, the water bearer, is the ankles or the lower leg. And then we have Pisces, which rules the feet. And you might be thinking, well, I'm a Capricorn, my knees, what about the rest of me? Well, you have all these body parts, right? You have all these energies. And the way that Plato explained it is that your soul, and this is just one perspective, right? One story of how you came to be or how you potentially came to be, but that each soul comes from the outer universe and passes through the universe, gets all the different, passes by all the planets till it lands on Earth and becomes this earthling, right? So that's why you are affected or have different, more of different energies than others, and why their placement in the sky at the time and the moment that you were born is significant when you look at things that way. So let's start with a little relaxed breathing and centering. Then we'll stand up and do a whole body head to toe warm up, and then we'll move through the practice together. All right. Okay. So get comfortable. You can be standing if you prefer to stand, if that's where your energy's at right now. You can sit, you can lie down, but take a moment, look around your space. Feel free to be distracted by all the beautiful things, especially if you're outside. And then when and if it feels comfortable, feel free to close the eyes. And take a moment to notice what it feels like to be you right now. You might notice a sensation, a feeling, an emotion, a little of all of those things. And often when we first transition into a new activity, especially one that might have us be a little bit more still or quiet, like this moment here, it's totally normal for you to be thinking about all the things that came before, maybe even planning ahead for tomorrow. So honor that very natural rhythm, that natural desire, that natural need. Whatever comes up, be with it for a moment. And at some point, when it becomes more interesting to you, perhaps bring your awareness to your breath. Now, there's nothing fancy you have to do with your breath, but there is magic in paying attention to it. So simply notice yourself inhaling, notice yourself exhaling, and as best you can, simply observe the rhythm, the movement, any sounds that come with this breath of yours. And perhaps gently open your eyes, look around again, notice if anything's changed. And you might reach your arms up, interlace your fingers, excuse me, reach them up overhead, press the palms away from you, and then bring your arms back down. All right, we're gonna stand up to do our warm up from head to toe. I have to admit, it was a little bit of a challenge. I like a challenge, but a little bit of a challenge to develop a warm up that started at the head. Often we start at the feet. So you're standing because of that, but I want you to look straight out in front of you and start to move the eyes. So you're not going to move your head yet because that would be your neck, right? We want to start with Aries, the head. So Aries rules the head, the brain, and the eyes. So start moving your eyes a little bit to one side. Maybe you pretend you're looking behind you without moving your head or trying to. And then shift all the way over to the other side. So you're just kind of going left and right, whatever's comfortable, whatever speed. Notice what your eye muscles are doing. Maybe you feel your face muscles shift as your eyes gaze in one direction and then the other. And then look up and look down like you're trying to look at your belly button, but you're not moving your head. And switch back and forth a few times, trying not to make yourself dizzy, but simply working the eyes and the muscles around it. All right, from here, let's connect the head and neck movement together. So as you turn to look to the right, go ahead and move your head. Try to keep the rest of your body relatively relaxed and then do the same to the other side. So now you're going side to side and adding a movement of the neck, right? Neck is the bull. Taurus. And then you can try that with up and down, looking up. Bring your chin away from your chest and look down. Now you might be able to see your belly button for real. If it feels good to make a circle, you can do that, or you can stick with the side to side, up and down. If you're making a circle, try a few times in both directions. And then pause. So we're going to go back to the side, but add the arms. This is Gemini, right? So if you bring your arms out to the side, flip one palm up and look in that direction, and then switch to look in the other direction. So we're adding another movement here. This can be as flowy or bent elbowy as you'd like. You can do little movements with your fingers to add that in. So now we're adding the shoulders and the arms, Gemini. Nice. Next comes Cancer, the chest. So to do this, we need to move a little bit more. So maybe as you turn to one side, you open a little bit with a back bend. Maybe your arms come back and then turn to the other side. It might kind of feel like you're flowing with the arms. You can make this look like whatever it feels good. Nice. Now for Leo, the back of the back of the heart, we'd go the other way. So now we're going to go rounding into ourselves and then open. Turn to the other side, round a little bit in the upper back and then open. So, and you can go as slowly as you like. If any of these parts of the movement feel really good, then maybe stay, feel the skin stretching. All right. So now we're going to move down into the belly of the Virgin, Virgo. So let's twist a little bit side to side. And you can let your arms wrap around you. If it feels okay for you, you can look and continue moving the head. Otherwise, keep the head steady if that makes you feel dizzy. You might even feel like your backhand is tapping your low back, right? That would be a little bit of the Libra energy, which rules the kidneys and the low back, but can you also feel the twist in your belly and your abdomen? All right, now we're gonna do some sexy Scorpio hip circles. Around and around and around. You can go a few times the other way. And then moving down, Sagittarius, the thighs and the hip itself. So for this warm up, shift to one leg and start to swing the other one. It helps if your knee is a little bit bent and you might find yourself kind of swinging your arms a little bit with you. And if you're feeling good about that, you can really let that leg swing, but you might keep it small and slow. There's a little balance involved. Feel free to use a hand on a wall or a chair. Wake up that hip and then try the other side. So start slow and small, get your balance, get your bearings, and then maybe a little bit bigger movement. Nice. All right, find an ending for that. With both feet on the floor, bend and straighten the knees. So Capricorn rolls the knees. Anytime we squat, as we'll see later, or lunge, you'll get some strengthening for the knees. All right, and then bring the feet a little closer together. Excuse me, you can hold on to the knees and make circles. It looks like you're circling your knees, but really this is about the shins, rotating inside the ankle joints, right? So now we're moving down into Aquarius, the water bear, the ankles. Go a few times in both directions. All right, and then come on up to stand so we can do the feet, Pisces. Step onto one foot and take the top of the foot to the floor on the other side. Now, if you've stubbed a toe or done something weird to a foot recently, you can either skip this or bring the ball of the foot to the floor. But what we're going to do is let the leg roll around in a bit of a circle. So this might feel good if you've recently switched to summer footwear, right? Because you're kind of squishing your toes as you rotate the foot and the ankle. And you might even feel this all the way up into your thigh. The thigh bone rolling around the hip. Go a few times in the other direction. One way tends to feel more awkward. It's all good. All right, and then switch sides. So step onto the other foot. Be nice if this foot is the one that has some life experience here. And then change directions. All right, bring both feet to the floor. Sweep your arms up overhead. We've done it, head to toe. Hands together at the heart. Let's do 2 more sun breaths. Inhale, reach up. Hands to heart. 1 more. Nice. All right, so Aries, head. Not just ruling the head, but ruling our the match, the chispa, the spark, right? So head first is sort of the Aries thing. It's also a warrior. So we're going to do some movement, a little bit of playfulness with it, with warrior 1 and warrior 3. But let's start by shifting the weight over to your left foot. Pick up your right knee, any amount, and kind of reach back like you're coming into a warrior 1, and then come back up and stand down. So do that on both sides. I love it. Lift the knee, step back like you're in a warrior for a moment, and then shift forward. If lifting the knee first just doesn't work, either because your hip flexors don't want to come along for the ride or they don't like it, you can simply step back and step forward. The next little variation to add on to this, right? I said head first, so that's where we're going next. As you step back, then you're going to lean forward. So your head is literally the first thing, right? If you want a little extra heat, reach your arms out there with it. And then spring off of the back foot, come up to stand. And then same thing, other side. Step back, lean forward, that head first energy, and then spring off of your back foot. And you can stay in any one of these positions, or you can keep it dynamic. The next thing we're going to add is step back, lean forward, maybe keep your hands by your sides for the first one, then shift forward, head first into warrior 3 or flying warrior, right? Then you can either step down underneath you or step back to warrior 1. If you want the extra challenge, bring your arms along for the ride, shift forward, take off, play with the balance for a moment, and then maybe land down. So lots of options here. Stay playful with it. Don't take it too seriously. We're just getting started. So this is very much an Aries warrior. Let's kick fire out from the start. An Aries wouldn't need to warm up, or at least think they didn't. Try maybe 1 or 2 more on each side. Again, stay playful with it. You can keep it at whatever pace works for you. Nice. And then step back with your right foot. This time pause, turn a little bit sideways for triangle pose. So for Taurus, neck of the bull, we're going to use triangle pose to play with the turn of the head. So reach the arms out across your space and then forward towards your left. And then either spin the arms or maybe bring your right hand down to your hip. Now you can look straight at the horizon. Notice what that feels like on both sides of the neck, or look down at your big toe in the front. Notice how that feels. And then maybe you play with what does it feel like to look up, even if your hand's not there. If it is, you can look at it. And then without making yourself dizzy, you might kind of play with the turn, what's available, what's possible, and what feels like where you want to be for a moment. Take a breath or two. Take a moment or two. And then press into your feet. Rise up. And we'll switch sides. So you can either step forward, switch the legs, step back, or do a little turnaround. And then reach with your right hand for triangle or trikonasana on the other side. And it's okay if this side looks a little different. You can also back up. You don't have to go very far to feel the feelings. We are using this as a neck focused pose, but hopefully you feel some of the benefits also in the legs, some strength in the side body. And then play with where does your nose want to turn on this side? Is it any different over here? And then pause where you are happiest at the moment. Take another moment or two. And then press into the feet. Rise up. Ooh, lower the hands. Walk the feet together. And shake it out. All right, from here, we already used the arms a little bit, right? It's hard to cut everything off and just isolate it entirely, but let's move towards downward facing dog pose. So however you want to get there, if you want to reach the arms to the sky first and do a little sweep, forward fold, hands to the floor, and then step back. You can also play with where your neck is in space here, where your head is, but connect with the hands. As your hands and feet press into the floor, can you feel all 10 finger pads on the ground? Can you feel the knuckle pads press into the floor? Can you feel the strength of your arms, the shoulders? We'll be here for a few moments. You can take a break at any point and then come back into this. Notice how time in a shape like this works to strengthen the shoulders in particular, but the arms as well. All right, from here, we're going to shift the shoulders forward over the wrists, plank. Feel free to lower the knees down. Make this about the arms and shoulders. So press into the hands, elbows as straight as possible. And notice if you feel like you're sinking, even if your arms are straight, push the floor away. Nice. Gemini, the hands of the twins. So look at your fingers, look at your hands. Don't worry about which way they're all turned. Your body kind of knows, right? You don't have to parallel anything to something else. You are not a paper doll. Nice. If you like the extra heat, lift the knees maybe for 2 more moments. And then let's rest. Knees down, hips back any amount towards child's pose. Really honor whatever the knees allow for here. Feel free to bend the elbows and rest your forehead on your hands. Not to poke fun of any of you who have the sun in Cancer, but as I was preparing for class today, I was like, oh, if I were a Cancer, sun in Cancer, or someone with a lot of Cancerian energy, we say, it would be like, this would be it. You just stay in child's pose for the rest of class. They're the ones who like to stay in bed most mornings. But we're going to move from this pose into a shape that helps open the chest a little bit, which is the chest of the crab, right? Cancer energy. So instead of having your hands underneath your head, bring them around possibly to your low back. I'm going to have one hand on top of the other, and most of my weight is in my legs because now I'm going to press into my shins and unfold myself so that I'm sitting up, right? My arms are going to come out to the side, and then I'm going to lean back a little bit and arch, kind of like a camel shape. So there's some spaciousness across the front of the chest. And then I'm going to fold back into myself. You can either bring the hands to the floor if that's more comfortable, or take them back behind you, other hand on top. And then open up, reach the arms out, arch back for your camel variation, and then fold back into yourself. And do this a couple of times, back and forth. Take it slow, take it at your own pace. Even though the focus is on the chest here, maybe you're feeling some feelings in the legs and the thighs, the folding of yourself and your low back. Try one more. Come on up, arch back, reach the hands back. And then bring the hands down to the floor, tabletop for a moment. Shake out the hips. Let's move through a little cat and cow, round into your cat back, and then arch slightly for cow pose. So Leo is the back of the heart and the spine. So feel your spine moving fluidly back and forth. Now you can stick with this, take a break anytime, or make it a little bit more interesting or challenging by curling your toes under. And instead of starting in tabletop, start your spinal flow from downward facing dog. I'll show you what I mean by that. So from here, your heels might be feeling heavy, right? When you're in downward dog, you're going to lift the heels. So come up onto the toes and feel that momentum, kind of feel your hips being high, and then round your back until you feel your shoulders shifting forward, kind of like a rounded plank pose. But then from here, you can lower the belly slightly, either to plank or go a little further if it's comfortable. Knees down is totally an option, and lift the chest, upward dog variation. And then we're going to reverse that spinal flow. So you're going to curl your chin to chest, round your back up, hips high, heels low. Now you're back in downward dog. And you don't have to go the full range of motion, but explore this. Fluid movement. Feel as if like your whole spine is extended down through the legs as you flow back and forth. If being up high feels like too much of a challenge for the shoulders, or it's just not as much fun, bring the knees down and expand your flow between child's pose and hips forward for upward dog. Go at your own pace, maybe one or two more times. And the next time you're in downward dog or child's pose, pause there for a moment. And then come on down to sit. All right. Extend the legs out in front of you. Maybe swish the knees from side to side. And if any of you have been making notes, we're almost halfway through the chart, right? So, because we're getting down lower. Next is the belly of the Virgin. It's yogi abs time. So let's start with boat pose. Now, if any of you, I myself included, have been extremely active in the garden and tennis and some other things, so my hip flexors don't feel quite as strong as they normally do. And so I'll offer a variation of boat pose that you can do if you're in the same boat as me. But traditionally, you'd find your hip points, or your sits bones rather, those bony protrusions right near the floor, and then lean back at an angle. Thighs also at an angle, but the chest and thighs close to one another. And this by itself, you'll already be feeling some engagement in the belly. This is where you may already be feeling like those hip flexors are tired, but if not, you can lift the toes, you can try to balance here, or you can try to straighten your legs. If you want to take the hip flexors out of the equation a little bit more, you're going to take the feet more wide and then balance. Sometimes that does it enough. You can also bring the feet together and the knees really wide, or grab your feet and then take the feet wide. Anytime you're able to hold on to the feet, then the hip flexors won't be as much part of this equation, right? So play with that. If you've got the feet in your hands, you can play with whether the legs want to straighten. My only rule is if you roll back, you have to go wee. So playing around with boat pose, at some point, you'll feel done with that. And in which case, rest your feet down, bring the soles of the feet together, let the knees go wide, and let's take a moment in butterfly pose or bound angle. Relax the belly muscles. All right, and then come back up to sit. This time we're gonna go from up a little higher to low boat. Now, we can do this sort of gradually, or it may just be that you end up flopping down, and that's fine. But once you get there, see if you can firm the low back to the ground, lift your feet, and reach your fingers straight forward. Half boat or low boat. Oddly, for many of us, sounds like it should be less intense of a pose, right? But it usually requires a little bit more of that belly strength. All right, try to stay here for another smile. And then go ahead and relax, head down, maybe bring the knees in and rock from side to side. Ooh, belly of the Virgin. All right, one more little round of yogi abs here. For this, you're gonna hold onto your right knee and extend your left leg out, hovering it an inch or two above the ground. Then bring your chest up towards that thigh, but release the hands so your hands are straight forward. It's kind of like a bent knee half boat, except you're gonna straighten your right leg. So now your legs are in an L shape. At any point, if you wanna reduce the amount of tension or challenge on the low back or the belly muscles, you can bend one or both knees, but we're gonna lift and lower just the right leg for now. So when you're ready, you're gonna lower the right leg to meet the left one. Whoo, half boat, we've been here before, and then straighten the right leg back up to the sky, same side. And then slow motion, lower it down. Same speed as you lowered, lift it back up. Nice. Try a couple more on this side. Take a break whenever you need. You get to decide the level of challenge here. Remember, you can bend one or both knees. You could even lower your left heel to the ground. The next time your legs are close to each other in that half boat or half boat variation, pause and then relax. Bring the knees in. Whew. Rest for a moment. All right, we got to do the other side. So grab onto the left knee, straighten the right leg out, hovering a few inches from the ground, and then bring your chest up close to the left thigh. Take the arms out in front. If it feels better to take them behind the head, especially the second time to support yourself, please do that. And then straighten the left leg. We're going to lift and lower the left side, just like we did on the other side. If things get a little tired or you want to change the challenge on your body, bend one or both legs. If you're still with me, we're going to do 3 more, 2 more. Last one, hold half boat just for a moment and then release. Take the hands to the backs of the thighs and let the knees go wide for what I like to call dead bug shape. Allow your abdomen to relax. Your back feels supported by the ground. And then extend yourself out on the ground with as little effort as possible. Roll onto your belly. Feel free to groan at me if you like. And we'll move on to Sphinx pose. So now we're heading down to Libra for the low back. I picked this one specifically because it also might help you feel like you're stretching the stomach, the abdomen after those yogi abs. So feel free to bring the elbows underneath you. You can also walk them forward if you would like to change the arch a bit. And relax the legs behind you. See if you can feel your breath in your low back. The back of the scales, the balance, Libra. When you're ready, feel free to lower yourself down onto your belly for a moment. And then press your way up to hands and knees and round your back as a counter stretch in cat. All right. From here, shift your weight onto your right knee, kickstand it out to the side a bit, and stretch your left leg straight out behind you. So we're going to play with balance. I said Libra was the balance of the scales, also the low back and kidneys, right? So lift the left leg any amount and see if you can feel some of these low side waist muscles working in this variation of half moon with your knee down. Now, if you like, you can let this be more dynamic and stretch your arm close to your ear and then bring the leg back up. And then maybe stretch, lower the leg, and then lift it. Let's try one more. If you're being in the flow, you can also pause and hold, and then switch to the other side. Feel free to do a little hip wiggle in between, and then steady yourself on your left side with the left hand and knee down. Notice what it feels like to lift the left leg. You can pause and hold, use the top of the left foot on the floor to help you feel more stable. And then if you want to make it more dynamic, you can lift and lower the leg, stretch the arm with you towards the ear. Nice. And then find an ending for that. Bring the knees back down underneath you. Shake out the hips. Of course, classic low back posture is going to be a forward fold. So when you're ready, step your feet towards your hands and come into a standing forward bend. If you have a chair nearby that you want to rest your hands on, or maybe your hands are resting on blocks, you can also bend your knees and grab opposite elbows. Whenever the legs are straight, you might feel this more as a stretch for the back of the legs. And then if you bend the knees, you might feel this more as spaciousness for your lower back.
Take a few moments in the fold. And then press into your feet and slowly come on up to stand. If it feels good, sweep the arms out and up. And bring the hands together at the heart. All right. Sexy Scorpio, step wide on your mat for goddess pose or God pose. In Mexico, those of you who are on retreat with me, we called it Ometeo, because God is masculine and feminine and everything in between. So we're essentially doing a squat. Now I realize we're about 40 minutes into this practice and you might be like, you know what, squatting is really not what I wanted to do right now, but make it a smaller squat, a mini squat. And then we're gonna make it a fun squat by moving the hips and pelvis around, right? The sexy Scorpio. You can bring your hands to your hips and add a little bit of that. You're in charge of your experience. I'm not paying attention to whatever you're doing or watching. If you're here live, maybe they turn into hip circles. Maybe you go the other way. There's always one way that feels natural and then the other one maybe a little more work. If your feet are wider, you might be feeling this in the hips a lot more, or you might be having a little more fun. Maybe you bring the arms up and let them swing together with your pelvis. What would that feel like? Would it feel strange? Would it feel fun? Would it feel connected or disconnected? It's all good. All right, straighten the legs, take a break, whoo, and turn towards your left foot and left side of the mat. Turn that toe out in that direction and bend your left knee. Sagittarius, the thighs. Centaur, imagine yourself half human, half horse. Strong legs, strong thighs. Of course, now we're getting into the part of the practice and the part of the zodiac that rolls the legs. So they're all kind of connected. I will jump a little back and forth here just for the sake of your body feeling sane about what we're doing next. All right, and then straighten the leg, turn over to the other side. You can lower the hands if you don't want to use the arms in the same way. And then warrior two, side lunging warrior with your right knee bent. Even though you're probably feeling most of the feelings in your right leg, can you feel both legs supporting you, both feet pressing down, both legs strong? Sagittarius tends to have a really great sense of direction. They are the truth seekers. They are moving forward. So notice where you're going. That's what the hips do for us. They give us our sense of direction. All right, give yourself a break here. Turn around to the first side. Now I'm going to skip around a little bit. We're going to come back and do a pigeon stretch for the hips in a moment. But before we get you down lower to the ground, we're going to do a warrior one variation or a lunge variation. So when you turn your belly towards your left foot, maybe shorten your stance just a little bit. Now Capricorn rules the knee. So anytime you do one-legged squats or lunges, your knees are really going to benefit from that. And one of the things I want you to play with is simply bending and straightening the leg. So you can have your back heel up or down, whatever feels best here. And if you're kind of tired already or far into the practice, you can rest your foot on the ground. If you want a little bit more of a challenge, take the feet longer on your mat, which means there's just more balance, which means these muscles have to work a little harder, and you can take this slow to straighten and bend. That popping sound you hear is in my ankle, so pardon my ankle pops here. I'm working on it. If you want to take this one step further and really challenge the knee muscle, the muscles around the knee, you're going to lift your front heel. And as you lower, let the knee go past the toes. Now, I know some people might have feelings about this, so stay with whatever's comfortable, but then really push into both legs to straighten back up. So it's a really long-legged, knee over the toes lunge. Push. I promise you'll feel some feelings around the sides of the knee muscles tomorrow. All right, when this side gets tired, let's switch. Whew, and bring the other foot in front. Now remember, especially when it comes to the knees, hips, shoulders, and feet, left and right have had different life experiences. So start small, bend and straighten your right leg a few times, and take it at your own pace. If you ever do this again on your own, you can really challenge yourself to feel like you're moving in a relatively straight line, because there is, if you look down at the knee, you might be surprised at how wiggly it is as it moves back between the straight and the bent knee. Challenge yourself if you'd like, a little bit of a longer stance. And then the knee over the toes, split squat. If you're up for it, the idea here is you want to stay pain-free. So if at any point you feel a little something that's not so great, that's your cue to pause. You want to be able to do this progressively without pain. All right, you're probably cursing me at this point, so let's step the feet together, bring the arms up overhead, and I did promise you a pigeon stretch. Whew, forward fold, hands down, feet back, downward dog. So for the classic pigeon, you're gonna reach your right leg to the sky and bring that knee forward to the right hand, foot off to the left side so that your front shin is at an angle. Your left toes might kind of scooch back, and then right here, you'll be feeling some feelings in the hip. Hopefully it's a fun ouch, as I like to call it. You can also fold any amount forward and bring your forearms down towards the floor. Now, if this just doesn't feel like the right choice right now, swing around onto your back. Whew. And cross the right ankle on top of the left knee, making a figure 4 position with your legs. And this by itself might help you feel the stretch. You can also reach for the back of your left thigh and pull your legs in close. Wherever you are, take a few moments. Feel your heartbeat perhaps start to slow down. And especially as women in our culturescape, there's a tendency to curse our hips. So send them a little love. You really do a lot of work. And when you're ready to switch to pigeon on the other side, if you're reclined, unfold your legs, cross the other one on top. If you want to walk back into downward dog and then switch sides from the active pigeon, take your time, set yourself up. And if it has to look different on this side, really honor that. Whether for the hip or the knee or for some other reason, it doesn't matter to me. All right, when you feel complete with pigeon on this side, come on out, maybe spend one more moment in downward dog just to stretch out the back body if you're upright, and then come on down to sit so that you can roll onto your back and join us on the floor. Take your time. So we did hips of the centaur, right? We moved down to the knees, the Capricorn, the goat. We went back and did some hips. So let's go back for the knees now. Bridge pose, #1 PT prescribed posture, both for the knees, but also for the lower back. So bring the heels in underneath your knees and press the feet into the floor. Lift your hips up any amount. You don't have to go your highest, to feel the feelings here. But as you press into the feet, can you notice the strength in your legs, especially around the inside and outside of the knees? You might feel the buttocks squeezing, the low back strong. As best you can, keep breathing in and out through the nose. When you feel complete, lower yourself back down and take whatever counter stretch feels good. Some people like to get long, others like to squeeze in, maybe a little bit of both. And then set yourself down into the long position on the floor so that your legs are straight out in front, your arms are by your side. And if you're on a mat, make sure your heels are on it as opposed to off in the grass or on the carpet, for example. After the knees comes Aquarius, right? The ankles of the water bearer. So partly because it's fun and partly to relax and partly to bring attention to your ankles, we're going to do something called sloshing, which is to quite literally flex and point your feet over and over again quite quickly. And when you do this, make sure you keep your heels on the ground so that the heels aren't moving. And what that means is the rest of your body is going to do this big giant nod of yes on your mat. And it might kind of feel good to feel that vibration, that sloshing motion of your body against the ground. You might start feeling some warmth in the ankles and the shins. Try it for a few more seconds. See if you can let your head kind of go along for the ride. Yes, Emily. And then rest, relax, bring the knees into your chest. And Pisces, the feet. So if it feels possible, perhaps take your hands to your feet for happy baby pose. Rock a little side to side. Otherwise, grab onto the shins or the backs of your thighs. And then bring the feet together on the floor. Soles of the feet together, knees wide for Supta Baddha Konasana or reclined butterfly, reclined bound angle pose. We'll be here for just a moment, but if it makes you more comfortable to bring a pillow or a block underneath the outer thighs, you can set yourself up for that. I have one hand on my belly, the other on my heart to connect and to sense my breathing pattern kind of slow and change. If you're feeling warm, maybe your arms are out away from the body. And then scoop your knees together using your hands to help. Separate your feet wide, maybe like your yoga mat wide, and take your arms out across the mat. Let's do a reclined twist from side to side before we relax. And we did it. We went from head to feet, head to toe. So as your knees fall in one direction, you might pause there and enjoy the twist for a moment. And then bring your knees up and over to the other side to twist there for a few moments. And then if there are any other final movements that your body's craving, take a moment, indulge. And once you're ready to rest, extend yourself out long on the ground. Wiggle your fingers and toes, and swish your feet from side to side to let go of any tension. Notice warmth in the body from the practice. Excuse me. And give yourself a moment to rest. Notice yourself resting here on the ground. And feel yourself as a whole being. You are made up of all the elements and all the stars. There's a saying, as above, so below, as without, so within. Everything is just a reflection of itself, of you. And the world is a better place when you feel like you get to be and express yourself, who you are. So my hope is that moving and breathing and being together makes you feel a little bit more in touch with that. Whenever you're ready, roll off to one side and come on up to sit. As you feel ready, open the eyes, look around, notice if the light's changed at all. And honor and thank yourself for taking this time, creating the space to practice and to be here. I thank you all very much for your presence, and I wish you a lovely rest of your day.